Hello, CYC viewers, and welcome to another episode of Perspect Yourself. We got Gina over here. Last name doesn't matter. We got Joe Hanna. I know his last name. And we have Parthenia. Last name doesn't really matter.
Oh, it does.
It kind of does. My name is Mohammed Basili.
I got a last name. He's got a last name.
What up? We've got last names right now.
Last names Shanuda and McGarry.
Surprisingly, this episode isn't about last names.
It's not.
I know. You might be shocked. We might save it for a season 2 finale.
Maybe.
We'll see what happens.
Maybe.
On this episode of Parthenia, that's not the real name, we're going to talk about the gender splitting, this trend that's starting up in churches. And
Conventions.
in Sunday schools, conventions, what's basically happening, if you're not aware of what's going on, is they're doing a lot of trips with just guys, just girls, just completely separated. And they're starting the separation not from high school or grade 9 or 10 where you maybe start thinking of that kind of thing.
Makes sense.
Grade 5 is when they're starting the splits. And so they're all together up to grade 4. And we just want to open it up to the panel right now and see what everybody thinks. What do you guys think of the split?
Well, I think the split is not necessary at such a young age because you're already putting, it's like psychological, and I think we all agree with that you're already putting something in their mind that something's wrong, right? Why are we splitting them up? I mean, they have brothers and sisters, right? It's like, okay, mom.
Yeah.
Mom and daughter go with her. Dad and brother go this way.
Yeah.
No,
Eat dinner at separate tables. You know, the boys eat here
Why?
and the girls will eat here.
Why is that happening? Why is that
About the split.
worse? Yeah.
You want the truth?
I can't handle the truth.
You can't handle the truth!
Wow.
Oh, I spilled something. I'm sorry, guys.
I love it.
Anyways,
That's how passionate we are about the grade 5s.
no, I think
right,
I think there's 2 points. Like, it is a little bit silly sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But I think maybe that the split is starting now as a consequence of maybe what's happening with the youth, maybe what's happening with the kids. Maybe the fathers are concerned that things are happening behind the scenes, because we don't always know what's going on, right?
We don't know.
Maybe things are happening that are wrong, and maybe as a consequence of those things, they felt that it was necessary to separate the kids.
By suppressing?
It's not necessarily
Yeah.
suppression. Sometimes,
Of course it is.
Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But
What
if?
about the kids that don't know much? What happened to saving the innocence?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're right. You know,
You're
how
exposing
about
them to something already.
ignorance is bliss, right?
Right.
So like you said, I think it comes back to what you said, Gina, with your openings, like with your opinion on this. Like, yeah, it's by separating them, we're already telling them something's wrong. So before, maybe, perhaps, and there's still that possibility, even though it's 2011, perhaps they don't know that something is wrong or something could go wrong. And by separating them, we're saying something is going to go wrong, and we're going to prevent it by separating you.
Especially when at school they're already learning about family life
That's
at
true.
grade
Actually,
4.
that's a good point. At
That's
school,
right.
not everybody goes to gender-split schools. Like, not everyone goes to all boys or all girls schools. So.
Okay, but do you think, does when they split
And when
it,
does the split happen in school?
is that an issue?
Grade 9.
Is that an issue?
Right?
Do they start
Jim,
splitting
that's
from
right.
grade 9? Does it make a big difference right now if your church goes to you and goes, you know what, guys? We're not going to start splitting from grade 5. We're going to start splitting from grade 9.
Grade 9.
Now, does that make a big
you know what?
difference?
I think that's absolutely, I personally don't agree with that because I think, okay, so for 5 years, we're going to split you. And then once you get to university, you know, whether this is at trips or conventions or whatever the case may be, once you get to university, when you're more educated about it, where you still have the same ideas, if not perhaps more intensified, and you're smarter, like, you know, you're smarter
got a car
going
now,
about
you've
it, you've got these amenities or just things, ways of going about it. Now we're going to bring you together because that's all right.
And we want you to be together.
Yeah, and now,
Who decides on that age?
Who
decides on that
I
one
don't know how
age?
that works. Like, that's just not working in my head.
But wait, so we can make it clear.
Yeah.
We're basically alluding to sexuality. And now it's something that it's like becoming
Yeah, because
taboo.
that's the problem, right?
We're suppressing. Why? We don't come from a
on.
culture where we
That's an
suppress
interesting
that.
point. That's a very interesting point, okay? Now, I want to ask you guys an opinion. Well, perspective, basically. Perspect yourself.
Perspective.
Because we're all here to perspect.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely.
Respect and perspective.
Yes.
Is a play on words.
Just in case you guys didn't get that,
In
you know,
case.
10th episode.
What are
in.
we in? I don't even know.
Who knows?
I'm sorry, sick episode.
Anyways,
Yeah.
in all seriousness, okay, you alluded to sexuality, right? And I think nowadays, in our society especially, sexuality has become a very common thing. We see it.
Bombarded with it.
intensified.
It's life.
It's intensified,
it's just
right?
everywhere.
We see it,
You can't escape
right?
it.
Kids can't avoid it. Maybe in the
No.
past, as children, we were able to avoid it, but now you see it on TV, in commercials,
Yeah.
in the store, on May, and everywhere.
Forget that,
Billboards,
it's in schools.
right?
Kids
in
are
schools,
learning
absolutely.
And let's
Absolutely.
think
Before.
about the big picture. Big picture. They're together before the 40 minutes of Sunday school, and they're together after.
absolutely.
That's true.
What's that 40 minutes
But,
doing?
okay,
Yeah.
but here's what if the reason they're splitting them is that, so let's say they're splitting guys and girls, regardless of age, okay? We know that this sexuality is an issue. What if it's so that a guy can talk to the guys about sexuality and a girl can talk to the girl about sexuality?
We used to have that.
Why?
But
Because
that's why you have
that.
girl
They're not
counselors.
They're not. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not
Absolutely.
every Sunday school class. Not every convention is going to be
About
guys,
sex.
You know, and
Absolutely.
yeah.
No.
Absolutely.
So-
But the questions do come up in the Sunday school class. Why is it this way? Why are we not allowed to
Well,
do
why
this?
shouldn't a girl
Okay.
know the
So
same question
yeah,
coming from a guy or
why
a
should
They
we
should
not know
know.
that we're both
They-
thinking the
maybe
same?
at a tender
They
age,
should
maybe
know,
they
but at
shouldn't.
tender age, it's not going to be the same
Are
as
you
me
kidding me?
talking
It's
to
gonna
a
be
girl.
different.
You
Girls?
think a little child's going to ask you that in a big classroom?
Gina, you'd be surprised.
No. But she's right. I think,
No,
look.
you're
This is
right.
what would
We're
happen.
intimidated.
I'll tell you what would happen in our Sunday school.
Do you
We'd
remember
all
when
be
you were in
together.
grade 4 and we started learning about this stuff? Grade
Yeah,
4,
you would
we learned
giggle.
together,
Yeah.
and
We
you wouldn't dare look at the like think of
Wait.
pictures or like to
Yeah.
ask a question. If you ask a question, it's a silly question to make fun of the topic because you
Why do you
didn't-
want to
right.
make yourself?
Yeah.
Guys.
We live in, you said it yourself, we live in a new age where we have Facebook, MSN, and
Yeah.
all these things. We are already socially awkward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why do you want to further that awkwardness by splitting the sexes? So not only do you not know how to talk to people, now you can only talk to girls,
I
or you can
disagree
only
with that.
talk
No,
to
I
boys.
disagree with that
This is
absolutely.
how we used to handle it. We'd go to Sunday school as a group. It'd be
Yeah.
guys, girls, everything's great. And once every 4, 5, 6 months, we'd split. The guys would be alone, the girls would be
Yeah.
alone. We'd be free to talk about whatever
That's
we
a
want.
great idea.
And then
That's-
we'd meet next week, and they'd be like, "What'd you talk about?" We're like, Jonah. And that's how it went. We'd have an
Yeah.
understanding of what it
Yeah.
was, and we'd move
Yeah.
on with our lives.
Exactly.
But
That's
guys, the
it.
frequency has intensified. We've all said this. The frequency has
So
intensified.
do you think
These kids
splitting
are
is the
bombarded
answer?
a day.
So splitting is
No.
the solution?
I don't necessarily
No.
think it's a solution.
Okay, is it
I'm not.
contributing to the solution? If it's not the solution, do you think it contributes? Like,
See, what's the pro? What's the reason that they initially
That's
split?
what I don't-
Let's say some sort of
As
whatever
a
happened at a
consequence?
convention.
Maybe,
Okay,
okay.
something happened at a convention. Guy and girl got too close.
So
whatever
what?
it was.
Everyone has to suffer because
There
of
you
one
go.
con-
But guys,
That
is
doesn't
this
make any
suffering?
sense.
Is this suffering? Like really? Like I think
It's okay,
about.
not suffering, but it's not helping.
It's not.
But
Yeah,
guys,
it's
you
not-
guys said something.
it's not-
You guys all said something very true, very interesting, okay? They're with each other before the Sunday school lesson. They're with each other after the Sunday school lesson. They're with each other in the classroom. They're with each other in the park, so on and so on.
why can't they
right?
go with each other on trips?
No. So
Yeah.
why is it,
Trips.
time out,
And why
time
can't
out,
we
let me
We'll
finish.
save, we'll save the trips for the next
Promote
episode.
Christian
But yeah,
behavior.
But why is it that 40 minutes a week, 40 minutes a week of alone time is such a big deal?
Because those are the most 40 minutes of your
Those
week.
are beneficial 40
that's when you
minutes, right?
see that other group of
And
people.
if-
It's not like you're
and
with
if
them
it's
the whole week.
You're almost saying like
Yeah.
God said, boys and girls
Right.
must
And if
divide.
it's not,
That's
what about
fair.
convention? What about
Come
convention?
on.
It's
Absolutely.
those 3 days you get to hang out with your friends, both guys
What happened to
and
installing
girls.
respect as opposed
Absolutely.
to splitting?
Absolutely.
them?
And let's look-
Reading?
And how is that respecting them? Never mind, we expect them to respect the rules. How are we respecting them as a
That's right.
result?
Look at the-
like we're
look at
telling
the
them, we already
cons.
know you're going to screw up, so we're just going to
Look at the cons that happened after the split. You can look
Yeah.
at before the split and after the split.
Yeah.
There are legitimate, like,
Yeah.
statistics. You can look at
Absolutely.
what happened.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So after the split, the number of people going to Sunday school significantly decreased. You can say these people are going for the wrong reason. You
Yeah.
can say
But at
that
least they're
these-
going.
At least they're going.
least they're going.
In my view, if they're getting at
Yeah.
least a tidbit
Right? At
while
the end
they're,
of the day, you're trying
that's
to get
fine.
them, to
Yeah.
hear it.
And trust me, controlling a grade 9 guys class is
It's
Yeah.
awful. It's awful. It's like
you
a war
only know
zone.
if you're
Yeah.
dead. You have no
War
idea.
zone.
Yeah.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
With those
And-
girls there, at least it calms it down, and,
Yeah.
and whether you like to admit it or not.
No,
It's
I
funny that
agree
you say that.
completely.
I hate
Yeah.
to say this, but actually sometimes you wonder with girls there, does it calm them down or does it give them more reason to
Well,
like
there's a
sh-
mixture of
You
both.
know what I mean?
There
So
is.
yeah.
There's
but
that
that's the thing.
balance.
But yeah, that's the point. There's a balance.
I don't
There's
know.
no just one way. It's this
But-
way with the
Definitely
girls
balance.
and it's that way without the girls, right?
Sure,
There's
girls
just-
have issues and boys have issues. But
Yeah.
that's why we also have service like
Absolutely.
Girls for God, the G for G.
Yes.
There are those services also, because don't get
Absolutely.
me wrong,
Absolutely.
girls have their own issues and boys have
Yeah.
their own issues.
Definitely.
But let's not start splitting it even in something so
No.
crucial as a class dynamic.
I also agree, but let me guys ask you this, all right?
Yeah.
I think we're focused so much on the fact that the service is just limited to the classroom. I think that the servants should also be outreaching to these children on an individual basis. And maybe if they're outreaching on an individual basis, and this goes out to all the servants, of which we all are, maybe if we're outreaching them in the proper way, we don't have to segregate them. So I don't necessarily disagree with you guys. But what I'm curious about, and we can talk about this in the next episode, I'm sure,
Yeah.
is should we segregate them at a certain age? Right now we're saying no segregation at all. But is there a time when we should segregate them? Or is it no at all?
When you say time, you mean like a certain age,
Yeah, a
right?
certain age,
Not
yeah.
like a
Absolutely.
time or
No,
place.
Talk
no.
about a grade. Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't.
Right?
but
Like, you know.
who are we to make these? The thing I'm thinking about mostly now is once these decisions have passed,
Yeah.
can we come back from them, even if we decide that, say, this might not be the best route? Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, the thing is, they did it. They came back from it. Remember, a convention for OCYC University was split for a while, for a few years, and then in 2002, it came back, and they brought it back together. That was university. Now they're splitting high school. The thing is, I mean, I don't want to question people's credibility or whoever makes these decisions, but how does it look when you split people and then say, oh, we changed our mind?
I mean, bring it back.
But that's fine. But then again, but then you can respect that too. You can say, okay, you recognize that this is probably not the way to go, and you're changing it back. To, you know, you recognize your mistake, and you're trying to fix that mistake. So
that's right.
I don't know, but
It all, you know what? It all comes down to who the people are, all that kind of stuff. And we'll continue on the next episode. But for now, we'd like to leave you a little verse just so you could think about it. Until next week. Finally, all of you live in harmony with one another. And that's from 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 8. Until then, perspect yourself.